Hi, I'm Phil Pulley. I'm a high school teacher at Fieldcrest High School, kind of in the middle of nowhere in central Illinois. I actually did my dissertation research on flipped classrooms, and I've been doing that for, this is like my 11th, 12th year now. It kind of all becomes a blur after a while. And so I want to share some of the things that I know, but also want to give you some background on why I think, things we can do to interact with the students makes this a good thing to try and do here. So let's just get started here and jump into the slide deck here. So this is, I'm calling this Inside the Flip, which was actually the first part of my dissertation name. But we're saying connect with students and extend what's possible. And the flipped classroom is one way to help you try and do that. So one of the things I want to look at here is the agenda is today's teaching realities. I want to look at, ESSA and blended learning, which flipped is a type of blended learning. We talk about flipped learning basics as well as beyond that a little bit. And always remember why it is we're doing this. We're not flipping our classroom to say we're doing our flipped classroom. We're not doing things in terms of ed tech just to say we're doing them. We're doing them for why. And we'll also talk about some practical things to consider as well that help us meet that why. So let's look again at our first act here, which is today's teaching realities, fully remote, which we all remembered in the spring, and some of you might still be in, hybrid, mixed learning situations, and live face-to-face. So starting off with fully remote, this is that situation we were all very familiar with in the spring, and some of you might still be familiar with it and doing it right now. This is that idea of, we call it distance learning or online education. We called it remote teaching. We called it these things. And this is fully separated computer with computer mediated communication with some kind of video tool, whether it be Zoom or Meets or whatever it is you're using, conferences, and through some kind of learning management tool. And if you're listening to this, it's probably using Schoology as your learning management system. So we're all, unfortunately, whether we wanted to or not, became intimately familiar with this situation. Okay, I refer to this in the spring especially as educational triage, because we were just trying anything and to stop the hemorrhaging, so to speak. The next kind of style I'm talking about here, this is hybrid teaching. This is remote learners plus in-person learners. So you see here, we've got some students sitting here in the classroom while others are zooming in, and they're up there on the interactive whiteboard. And again, we're partially separated with usually half the students in the classroom and half at home. And this allows for that idea of social distancing. Then there's what I'm referring to as mixed, which is essentially our hybrid model, remote plus our in-person learners, learning going on, but we have varied schedule. This is what our daughters are doing. They're hybrid on some days, fully remote on other days, and they're actually on block days. So they do 2 days where they're zooming in, an even schedule, odd schedule. Then the next 2 days, they're the ones in the classroom, while the other ones zoom in. And then on Fridays, everyone's fully remote. And so there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And then here's what I'm doing, which is live face-to-face. We started back in the fall in August, live face-to-face, except for a couple of times when too many quarantines sent us fully remote. This is where all students clearly are present, the teacher's present in the classroom every day, a full or block schedule. We ourselves are on block. In Illinois, they had a starting for the school year kind of guide, and they had this thing, we can do it as long as they're socially distanced. And the interesting thing was, every time it said socially distanced, they generally followed it with the phrase, as much as possible, which in my classroom is not really possible. I can get them about 4.5 feet away from each other, which is still better than the classroom next door where they're literally desk to desk to desk, side by side. Okay, so let's look now at what ESSA, the Every Student Succeed Act, has to say about blended learning, which flipped learning is a type of this. We're going to define blended learning. We're going to define the different types of learning environments, the importance of professional development in terms of doing blended learning and integrating technology into our teaching. So let's get started with defining this. And they say this is a formal education program that leverages both technology-based and face-to-face instructional approaches. And this includes some element of online or digital combined with a supervised learning time. So I'm the teacher, I'm supervising, and student-led learning, which might be things they're doing on their own, asynchronous. We like to use, our big fancy terms, in which the elements are connected together to provide an integrated learning experience. Okay. I've got down here, this is from the SO, that's the actual page numbers. Actually, it should be 450 to 451. All these are hyperlinked to the text if you would like to get a copy of that. I'm just going to have the page numbers going forward. Okay. So again, this term digital learning, as they use it, and Blended says any instructional style that effectively uses technology. And I'm going to be talking about effective use of technology over and over again. We want to strengthen a student's learning experience, and this encompasses a wide spectrum of technology practices, including other things, but I am going to put a caveat in here. Don't go too wide. We want to engage our students, but we don't want to overwhelm them. I give some people the tip that if you want to try something new, maybe try something new that someone else in the building or your district is already using, because then your students might already know what it is and you've got someone to reference for ideas. Okay, so this wide spectrum of things that could be interactive learning resources. This could be digital learning content, software, simulations. I put in a grant for some VR goggles. We want to try and get that so students can see, ancient civilizations or inside the Pantheon or Parthenon. And these things are designed to engage our students in the academic content. This is, again, most of these things you see in orange are our why. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing these tools? To engage our students in the content. Okay. So these learning environments that they talk about in here, they say things that are, we want things that allow for rich collaboration and communication with our students. And an LMS like Schoology is a great tool for allowing our students to do that. Integrate things, whether you have Google, integration and can use Google Docs or slides, or if you're doing OneDrive, if you're a Office 365 school, these tools help us allow our students to work together and collaborate. So with student collaboration, we can bring in content experts as well, either through videos or actually online things, and actually working with their peers. Okay. Moving on here, hybrid or blended learning, which occurs under direct instructor supervision. Okay. This is kind of why, because we are the content experts, we are the pedagogical experts, we are shaping this stuff and want to make sure that they are going in the directions we need them to go. Okay, so this can happen at school or any location, at home or away from home. In part, this is online delivery with some sort of element of student control over time, place, path, or pace. And I want to note here, be careful with saying, I want this to be completely self-paced, because self-paced for some students can become no pace. That's actually from John Bergman and Aaron Sams in their book on flipped classrooms.